We are
What a stressful morning. Sorry that we're late, everybody.
Sorry for the delay. Obviously, everything to do with me and technology not getting on really well. I'm still trying to get Tim on. So excuse me for just 1 second.
Don't worry.
I need to make sure that he's received the link.
We are usually very prompt with Savvy Says, but technology has let us down this morning, so apologies for being late. And Delphine, I'm not even supposed to be on Savvy Says, which is why I look like this. But Delphine, it's her first one as well. And
I love it.
Technology has let us down. Tim is here now.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. How you guys
doing?
Here.
We're so good. So good.
We just thought we were already.
Well, it's lovely to be live with you guys now. Hey.
Better late than never. The chaos.
I'm going to disappear into the background now.
Oh, lovely to see you. Thank you so much for your help. That was very smooth, Kate. Really, really smooth. I love that.
Hello, Del.
Hello, Tim. Thanks for joining us for the second time. This is our second going live this morning. We've done so good. All pumped up and very, very happy to be here to see you. And apologies again for everybody who's watching at home if we are a bit delayed. So I think normally I should be able to see people's comments, people logging on, but yes, I can now. It's all a bit chaotic this morning, I'm not going to lie, but we'll be okay. Becky's here and she says, hello, good morning, everyone. So without further ado, we are going to get started. First of all, I want to introduce myself because this is my first Savvy Says with the team. The team and the team. You know, I've only been with Selling Savvy for a month and a half now. Was in hospitality in London for about 20 years, doing mostly sales for meetings and events, proactive, reactive, and all of this. So got quite a bit of expertise in that. And I have now moved down to the sunny coast. So I'm down in Hastings today. Not so sunny today, I'm not going to lie. And I will be covering Sussex, Kent, and some of London as well for Selling Savvy. So that's enough about me, which is my favorite subject, strangely enough. But I have a wonderful guest today, and I'm so glad that my very good friend Tim has joined us to tell us a little bit about what he does. So I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tim. I am originally a failed banker. I was rubbish at banking. I used to deal in derivatives and euro bonds. I only lasted less than a year. Then I spent 12 years in events and hotels and restaurants, coming up with new designs and concepts and customer experiences. And then I got into the world of innovation at 30 and creativity. And now I run two businesses. One, which is face-to-face workshops, which is helping people to think differently, collaborate differently, and connect in different ways and get the most out of your beautiful brains. And then I also have another business which was popped out of the fabulous world of COVID, which was taking our face-to-face offering and turning it into an online offering, either called the SO Team or the Culture Experiment.
Love that. Okay, that's a great summary. Very nice and great. I guess you're quite used to doing this, clearly. You've done this before.
Yeah, you know what? I originally, Delphine, it's so interesting. I couldn't stand the thought that my business of face-to-face got cleaved away and it's drifted away like an iceberg. And I thought, oh my God, that's it for me. The world of events, the world of running workshops, the world of face-to-face and missing all of those wonderful connections. And then I started getting to love this whole medium. And so I do some lecturing at some universities and bits and pieces around design thinking. And the more I did it, the more small sessions I did, and it just became more and more fun. Now, secretively, I really like it.
Don't tell anyone. No one's listening. Femke is saying, I love Blackboard team. I have to say that I noticed that, and I was feeling quite bad that I didn't have one. I thought about making one myself, but I didn't have time because the chaos. But yeah, love that. And thank you for inviting us into your office today to tell us all about this. So I thought about you know, when the girl said, oh, would you like to do a savvy size? Because obviously I've known you for quite a while and you're someone I love bouncing ideas around with. And, you know, obviously it's your business, innovation, creativity. I just find that super, super interesting. And also, obviously, in the past year, I think it's a subject that's been very important to us because of the way things have been. We've all had to be really adaptable. We've all had to change our mindset. And I think for your business also, which is quite a good example, you've had to, like you were saying, change completely the way that you work. How's that been for you?
It's been dramatic, horrible, interesting, exciting, and now it's proving to be something where it's now just an extra string to one's bow. But I've got to say that it was... it's very difficult to change one's habitual patterns around things.
Yeah.
And also for when you have a certain kind of like lens on what makes you happy, what makes other people happy, what's that reciprocal nature that you have. And that's a comfort zone. And suddenly, you know, I mean, I'm cracking on 50, right? And I'm like going, oh my God, I got to change. I know, an old dog, but Jesus, this is crazy. And then you change and you try. You don't put yourself out into that panic zone, but you try and do a little stretch every day into something new and different. And I think that that is one of the things that I believe is actually, one, everyone can do it, but also two, it's something that, you know, you take small bites at anything. And I know everyone knows this. It's like when you're at school, when you first go to school as a kid, you don't just walk in and suddenly like you're, you know, inundated with exams. No, You go there the first day, you meet people, you kind of like, and it's like that. Small little steps about little emotional journeys and celebrations that you can have along the way.
I love that. Yeah, I love that because I think people think that you expect it to change from one second to the other and have to make that massive change, which seems completely unrealistic and overwhelming, when really I've been reading that book, which I haven't finished, called Atomic Habits, which people have recommended, which is about how making tiny little changes to your life can lead to the greatest change. So do you think it's the same with creativity? It's like every single day you can stretch your muscle a little bit.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's so interesting when the people talk about creativity, because people go, are you creative or are you not? Are you analytical or are you not? And actually, let me ask you this, Delph, I'll use you as my kind of like exhibit here. But have you ever made a meal without a recipe?
Yeah, all the time.
Okay. Have you ever put a ensemble together of the clothes that you want to wear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, maybe shouldn't have.
It's so important to knock creativity off its pedestal, right? Because everyone can do it. It's just about how you define it. And if it is about just being able to be fresh, new, innovative, different, and be able to kind of like curate that in itself, in its small little world, in its own little microcosm, is creativity. And it does frustrate me when kind of children get put and pigeonholed, you know, into certain kind of like, this is you, this is the hat you wear, this is who you are for the rest of your life. I believe it's utterly rubbish. I get quite kind of like obviously opinionated around it, but I believe everyone can. And it might be that you try something. I mean, you know, Molson Coors have got this wonderful thing that they call the rewind effect. When you do something 3 times, give it 3 times, but then press pause, rewind and go, okay, what worked? What didn't? What would I do differently next time? And also, do I want to do it? It's like you don't always have to do the things that you're trying out. You're just seeing if whether you like it and if it's congruent to your value set and the group of people that you're with.
So 3 times. Okay, that's good to know. I'll try that. So it's worth sticking to something, but at the same time, don't also push for something that's not necessarily in your nature or in your values or whatever.
Yeah, and also give yourself a moment in time to then go and sit on the toilet and say to yourself, okay, how did that feel? How did that really feel? Because, you know, we find ourselves in business moving from one thing to another really quickly. And it's like we have an experience. Let's say it was the first time that you did a live on Facebook.
Yeah.
Well, and you go, oh, okay. What? How did that go? And then we jump into a call and then we jump into something else, slowing it all down, taking yourself away and go, what was great about that? What would I do differently? And that's the learning. That's the bit where creativity thrives and grows as a result.
Yeah, I love that. So have you done a lot of work? Obviously, selling savvy, you know, our thing is selling stuff. So, you know, and again, with the whole, I hate to say it, pandemic and everything, I guess venues and hotels, where everyone in the industry has had to be a lot more creative in their selling and come up with things. In terms of relating to sales in particular, have you worked with a lot of people in sales on their creativity, and have you got any top tips?
Absolutely. I mean, the joy of what I do is that I work across all different sectors, whether it's pharmaceutical, whether it's, hospitality, whether it's media, whatever it is. And I think that anyone out there in the world is selling themselves, and they're selling, just also, their work, their business, their product, their process, their design, their experience. Everyone's selling something at some given time. And I wouldn't ever say that I am the best salesperson on the planet. I'm not. However, I think there's a few things that stick in my head. One, really find the thing that you enjoy selling. Two, really do it in your own style. Don't you can mock somebody else's, as in like you can be somebody else's style for a little while. But the thing is, though, what you don't want to do is just lose who you are. You want to keep true to that. And the main thing for me around sales is bringing to life the voice of the customer or the consumer, the need. And this is my design thinking hat on at the moment. But it's about how do you bring that to life, and what's the benefit to them, not to your business, because that should naturally happen as a result. If you understand what that need is in a really simple, evocative way, and people go, I get what they're doing, and that's the benefit to them. Either people want to support it and be a part of it, so it's a great recruitment tool, or people go, oh, great, what you've done is spotted something, you've brought it to life. I know I need that, and I know now what I'm going to get as a result of it. And I think that is really important. I mean, to bring it to life. So, I mean, there's so much good stuff around storytelling, and, there's a friend of ours on Make Believe. He might be online at the moment. Yes.
Yeah, I did see him on LinkedIn making a comment.
So they're fantastic. And it's all about being able to just, understand how you bring it to life, just make the story sit not only in somebody's head, but also somebody's heart. It needs to leave a footprint so people remember it beyond a conversation or beyond a conference call or whatever it might be. And so for me, I mean, there's so many different examples, but I've got some favorite examples for how people have made this really come to life using creativity and selling, and just forge them together to understand a need. So a couple of stories that come to mind, and a couple of them are oldies, but there was in 1988, Saatchi & Saatchi, and it's a classic story out there in the advertising world, but it's about how Saatchi & Saatchi took on British Rail. And British Rail went to them as an advertising agency and went, oh, help, we've got literally, we've got 33 minutes on average. We are late for trains to arrive on people's platforms, etc., etc. And also all customer experiences are around how disgusting, dirty, and, filthy our trains are and our carriages. And so Saatchi & Saatchi did something really clever. They brought the board along to their offices in just off Soho Square. And the British Rail came and they sat downstairs at their offices. Now, unfortunately, their offices were super dirty, and, someone hadn't cleaned them for ages, and they had to wait for a really long time. Anyway, by the time but this is the board of British Rail. When they got bored, they stood up and they left. And as they left, the project team came down and went, don't leave. We wanted to give you an experience as to how long people wait at train stations and what people are saying about how dirty your carriages are. You've just experienced that. And they went, oh, my God, you understand our problem. You understand what we need to be able to do. And so there was a kind of there was a commitment of lots of people going, you're on. You really understand us. But also we now know and have an experience as to what it's like for our consumers and our customers, and therefore how passionate we are to make this happen. And I think little things like that can make all the difference. It's not only, it's about how you creatively understand somebody's issue and problem, how you then bring it to life, that insight that you've spotted, and then the rest of the process is super easy. So I think that selling something for me is about being able to bring that to life, let people feel the pain a little, let people understand it, and then kind of go, well, this is the benefit to you if you were to do this, 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 and this. And that for me personally, just sticks.
You know, when you say you're not a salesperson, like you are the best salesperson ever. And, you know, we talk a lot about consultative, but it's so true. We talk a lot about consultative selling. You're someone who asks a lot of questions, really gets to know and understand people. And that's what it's all about. And what you've just said is fully understanding how this process works, which is, you know, people have to buy into you. They have to buy your story. It's not just about the product. Of course, the product is important. And yes, you're going to do a better job selling a product if you believe in it. But yeah, they will buy you and your story around it. And the whole storytelling thing, I think, is amazing. And I think to some degree, that's always something I've encouraged people to do, because people have got different levels of creativity as well. And you've got to bear that in mind. But I think whenever you're trying to sell a space or anything for that matter, what you want to try and do is really create a picture in the buyer's mind of what life will look like for them if they have this, if they buy this, you know, what will it be like, and really walk them through, you know, what the experience is going to feel like for them, and really, you know, how it's going to make them feel once they have that.
And Delph, just to build on that as well, I think it's really important for people to have their own personal individual story. Because I love that. And that doesn't have to be a successful story. It's almost the ones that are your worst situation, the worst problem, the worst job that you've ever done is actually you being really empathetic and actually just showing your vulnerability, therefore building trust with someone. But showing, hey, this is my experience and this is why I do what I do, or this is now why I sell what I sell, or this is why I think you'll like it because I've been where you've been. And this is, so when you talk about hotels, when I was in hotels, it was so important for everyone in the hotel to spend time in the restaurant and stay overnight, because you see all the snagging, you see all the experience, you see what you can change, but you have to live it. And then therefore it's not enough just to put the story into what you think the narrative should be in somebody else's head. Actually show them you understand because you've lived it yourself. Yeah,
absolutely. Completely get that. Just wanted to say hello to Martina, who said a little hello. And who else is on there? There's Becky, who says hello, and Lynette and Femke. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. If you've got any questions as we go through this, please do not hesitate to wave and say hello. Another question I had for you was, that's all great, and you and I, we both love chatting, and we both love like coming up with loads of stuff, and probably sometimes a little bit too much. Is there a way to, or is it worth working on channeling this? Because creativity is all great, but when it goes all over the shop, is that a bit counterproductive sometimes?
So I think that, you know, there's a phrase called freedom within a gilded cage. And that means there has to be parameters of which you are creative within, right? Because you're safeguarding your brand, the business's brand, your consumers, you know, your consumers' experience. And I think that for a moment in time, there needs to be this massive exploration of creativity. And at certain points throughout a process of being able to, let's say, curate an experience for someone, there has to be moments when you go, okay, well, this is the consumer, this is the demographic that we're working towards. That in itself is a constraint that sits within this whole kind of like, you know, freedom within a gilded cage. But then you can go, great, well, we could do this, we could do this. So the experience of creativity should feel like being super creative and lots of things happening, and then going, okay, which ones are fit for purpose? What does that look like? What's that going to feel like? What do we need to do next? Great. Okay, so let's try this and this and this. So I think that there is the experience that people have to go through of being what we call kind of like really, you know, it's just very looking at the world of possibility, but also you have to apply your kind of due diligence to be able to go, what now? How's that going to be? How do we make it happen? There's also about, you know, knowing what the kind of buckets are for creativity. And for me, there's and you know, you've got me on a subject I love here, Delph. I mean,
well, I knew you'd get a bit excited about that.
But there's 5 different buckets of creativity, or how to encourage creativity within businesses, within cultures, within an organization. And they sit like this. First of all, you've got the whole thing about attitude. you have to have the right attitude, obviously, from senior leaders cascading all the way down. But it needs to be something that's so sticky that people understand. I'll give you a story. JFK, 1961, was going through the hallowed hallways of NASA. And when he was there, he was with all of these wonderful scientists, and he saw this guy, and it's a fabled story about how there was this janitor washing the floor. And JFK turned around to all the scientists and said, "I'll be straight back to you." And he went over to the janitor and he went, "Hey, I'm Jack. I'm the president of the United States." He said, "Who are you?" And the guy said his name. I can't remember his name. And he said, but he said, "What is it that you do?" And he said, "Mr. President, I'm helping putting man on the moon."
Love it.
He was mopping. The thing is, though, and why I mention it is that whatever the attitude is of the leadership and the brand and how it all's supposed to look and the vision and the purpose, it needs to be instilled in everyone that's there. And if creativity is part of that, people should be able to talk about it. People should be able to share about it. People should be able to kind of like wear it on their sleeve and talk about any, potential partner or consumer, customer that comes into your business and go, "This is what we do here. It's your badge, your brand, whatever." So attitude. Then there's also the fabulous world of kind of like the environment. How do you use your environment to actually really breathe life into creativity? Very much harder now. We're talking about hybrid workings and everything else. However, it all depends on, okay, when you do go into the office, how are you going to personalize it? And how are you going to inspire yourself when you're there? Because Gray Formica create Gray Formica ideas, right? So if you sit around on a desk that's got no personalization and it's just a blank white wall on a blank desk with a blank piece of paper, guess what? You're going to feel blank. Nothing's going to happen. Because 80% of your thinking is stimulated by the environment that you're in. So thinking about the environment, both what can I bring from home to then bring to the office, and what can I then make sure that I've created this hyperlink between the two to be able to make me feel like I haven't just left last 18 months at home and now I have to be this other person.
Yeah.
So I think that that's really important. So that's attitude, environment, and then there's structures. It's not just enough to say, "Oh, well, you're a creative business," and stick it on an elevator going up to the 5th floor. That doesn't work. It's about what are the small things that you can put in place that make people feel like they can experience what it is that's part of your brand. And therefore, if creativity is one of those, what does that mean? What does that look like? Where is it being represented in this place that we're at? And also when we also talk about structures, we think about, right, okay, are you hiring creative people? Are you giving people rewards and recognition for creativity? Is there a money budget set aside for creativity? Is there space set aside in people's diaries? So the two others, not to rabbit on though, but then there's two others that are really important. So you've then also got skills, and I think creative skills. Everyone in the world is super, super smart in many, many different ways. Anyone can pick up a book, click on a YouTube, go to an online forum. People can upskill themselves. Skills are actually the easiest way to be able to be creative, but super quick and super easy. So I won't talk too much about that. But behaviors, manifestation of an attitude within an organization. How do you encourage the behaviors of creativity to be able to live and breathe within an organization? The way in which you do it, do we put things on the wall? Do we share with people our stories? How do we do that? How do we encourage the behaviors that need to live and breathe in everybody? Anyway, that's my little rant. Those are my 5 things about how you create.
I love that.
Created a culture of creativity.
I think that's a very good point, because a lot of people say, "Oh, we're a really creative business," but when it comes down to it, what do you actually do about it? And if you don't encourage and make space and have the chats and make it part of your culture, people won't be encouraged. There's a comment from Caroline. Hello, Caroline. Who said, "I worked with a client with creativity in their values, but wouldn't allow any personal stuff on desks or on the wall." Yeah. So that's exactly as you pointed out.
How is your brain supposed to make creative leaps if you are not able to be stimulated by anything? I mean, Pixar, they get all of their illustrators within Pixar to constantly move to each other's environment. Now, I know that obviously with COVID and everything else, that's a bit different, but you can still visit other people's spaces with a mask to just kind of go, "I've stepped away from my desk for 20 minutes. I want to get inspired. Why don't you go and have a look at mine?" It's about being able to make fresh and new and different connections. That's what creativity is. I mean, Einstein once said, I am no genius. I just stand on the shoulders of giants. And I think that that is how we all are. It's like, I'm going to learn from you. You're going to learn from somebody else. We're all just helping each other move on to this next kind of exciting piece of the future.
That's very exciting. Also, when you put that twist to it and say, you know, it's a team thing, like you don't keep that to yourself, you know, you can also, like we said, bounce ideas around. Another one I have for you was, obviously you'll have teams, everybody's different. How do you get around the old, oh, I'm not a creative person type of comment? You'll always have a couple of people that say or claim they're not creative, so they don't want to do that particular task or get involved in the brainstorm because they're just not creative.
So one, I think diversity in teams is super important. And also that's hierarchically as well diverse. So there should be people from accounts, there should be people from, you know, kind of front of house, there should be people from, you know, kind of production and design, whatever. But also what's really important is just to kind of like set it up. You as a, if you're facilitating, as you just mentioned about, let's say, a brainstorm, you go first, but ask people to do something really simple and straightforward, such as, you know what, draw a house on a piece of paper. That's creativity. It's about setting it up. So it's setting it up for success. So somebody goes, oh, okay. You know, if you've got Lego bricks, stick Lego bricks on the floor and go, right, all I want you to do is just create a structure. Go for it. That then kind of like, that's creativity. It's small little chunks that you chip away at it and you reinvigorate people, because everyone was a child at one point. Everyone ran around kind of like, you know, in the sandpit. Everyone, you know, we managed to kind of like put ourselves at work in front of a screen, dressed, and not, I never see anyone, I mean, I've got appalling dress sense, but I never see anyone dressed the same as me, walking down the street. How incredible are we as humans? We're all creative. Yes, you can encourage it. Yes, you need to get outside. Yes, you need to stimulate yourself. Yes, you need to visualize. Yes, you need to use breathing techniques. Yes, you need to kind of like, you know, they say that there is amazing and fresh and different synapse connections to be made from reading for 20 minutes a sci-fi book that's so kind of like diverse to, you know, everything that you do, but it creates what's called a divergent leap. Divergent thinking is about doing something completely different, away from the task that you're doing. And then what you do is make new neurological connections as a result. And you are more creative as a result for the next 45 minutes.
What?
More creative.
I'm going to buy a book this afternoon. I'm going to buy a nice sci-fi book. Any recommendation?
But this can be anything. Sudoku, crosswords, anything else. And it comes for free. Do something
absolutely.
Just for a couple of minutes. Come back. Free creativity, connections, and boost.
Love that. And you know, one thing you said as well was like about individuality and creativity as well go really hand in hand. And I think for a long time in hospitality, well, I know from my experience working in a lot of jobs where I have to wear a uniform, I had to wear really standard makeup, and you know, they were trying to kind of push down this individuality. And I think we're at a phase now where people are accepting a lot more than, you know, people in hospitality need to show their personality, because this is what people buy into. So really allowing your teams to shine as individuals, because at the end of the day, you hire people because of who they are and because you think they'll be good for your business as well. So you shouldn't want to have them all fit into that exact same box.
You know what? It's really interesting because I think that it depends on what your brand is. So if you are, let's say, the Ritz-Carlton, people, when they go into the Ritz, are going to have a certain expectation as to how people, first of all, though, how people are going to be with you. So I love the whole thing about the Four Seasons, ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. That to me just goes, that attitudinally is there. But how it turns up with regards to your dress, I think that then that has to be congruent to whatever brand you have. And I truly believe in people celebrating themselves and being themselves attitudinally. Sometimes, I mean, you know, I made an absolute faux pas. I remember when about 19 years ago, when we used to run around in a consultancy wearing flip-flops and bare feet. And I went along to my first meeting with Clarins or someone like that. And I turned up in flip-flops, massively inappropriate.
I would have imagined so.
then as a result, it took me most of the meeting to then try and overcome
very true.
as to me as a result. So it actually hindered me, even though I kind of like really enjoyed it. But I learned from that. So I do think, though, that there is a little balance, that attitudinally people have to be themselves and fly. And you are so right, because hospitality is so full of passionate, dedicated, inspiring people that are able to just breathe life into any experience that makes people just feel delighted to be alive. And that comes from imbuing, sharing those wonderful, innate behaviors that we all have, but we've all got nuances around it.
That's beautiful. Listen, we're coming up to the end of 30 minutes already. I don't know when the time is gone, and we started late, so we're going to have to wrap this up. Sadly, I could go on for hours and hours. Any parting words, any word of advice for anyone trying to creatively sell at the moment?
Oh my God, you put me on the hoof. For me, it's about bringing things to life with your own language. I think sometimes try and fit in a square box of how we think that we should kind of like articulate things. There's nothing better than articulating things that are in your head. Make it make sense, but do it with your own tenacity and intonation and vocabulary.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much. We're going to let everybody go. Thank you for joining us today. It was absolutely amazing. And Tim, you've been exceptional. I'm sure we'll have you on again, actually, because you've got so much to share with the world. So thank you so much. You have a lovely weekend.
Look after yourself, Delphine.
Absolutely.
Abby says yes. All right.
Talk to you very soon. Take care, everyone. Have a good weekend. Ciao.
Bye.